You're listening to the Tooth Sleuth Podcast, all about the business of dentistry, hosted by yours truly, Greg Essenmacher, a fixed full arch dental expert and founder of G&A Consult, speaking with industry leaders on the dental landscape from their perspective. At G&A, we specialize in transforming full arch dental practices, teaching, coaching, and training teams to deliver an exceptional patient experience, from that first call to delivering final smiles. Whether you're a practice owner, a DSO executive, or a regional leader looking to expand your full arch program, boost same-store sales, or unlock the true profitability of full arch cases, we've got you covered. Ready to see how full arch can elevate your practice? Visit the show page or book a discovery call today. Let's turn your potential into results. Welcome back, everyone. Tooth Sleuth Podcast. Greg Essenmacher here. It's okay if you don't know me. You can get to know me here or in all of my other episodes. I don't know, 140, 150. I don't even know what number you are on the list, DeVon, but well, that didn't come out right. What number are you on the list? Ooh, I'm starting off. Crazy for days. I know it is. You know, when you're friends and you know each other well, that's the way it is. DeVon Banks is my guest today, CEO of DTEK Billing and Claims. I've known her for, calendar time, not terribly long, but it seems like I've known you forever with the conversations that we've had. Why don't you introduce yourself to my listening audience? Let's start there.
Let's start there. Well, first of all, before we begin, let me just say thank you for having me. We have been talking about this for a long time, and I'm really excited to be here. I'm honored to be a guest on your podcast. So, yes, as you said, I am DeVon Banks. I am the CEO of DTEK Billing and Claims. We are a full cycle revenue cycle management company based out of Largo, Maryland, right outside of Washington, D.C. I just celebrated 27 years in business on October 26th. And so we haven't been doing this a long time. I've been doing this since I was 23 years old and before the internet was born and all that, right? So I've definitely seen things change over the years, and it's been quite the journey. So yeah, I have clients all over the country. Literally from Hawaii all the way over here to the East Coast where I'm based. And I've been in hundreds of offices over the years. I initially started as a Dentrix trainer. Well, even before that, I started in office, clinical chair side, went to front office, then office manager, and then I was recruited by Dentrix to become a certified trainer. I was also doing sales and training for 10 other software systems kind of all at the same time back when we really were getting into the digital world of dentistry. So I've seen a lot, done a lot, and just looking for how I can give back to the community by way of education.
And something that you mentioned that I think is critically important, and I'm going to pull it out from what you've said for my listening audience. Anybody who has experience both in operations, like you talked about, coming up through the ranks of practices and whatnot, and then being pulled into, being a Dentrix trainer and others, and also sales side. It is rare that you find, I won't call it a unicorn, right? Because there's more than one out there. I know Margaret McGuckin, who's a senior advisor to my business, has both. Having both and that perspective, the deliverables for clients is just next level because of the perspective that you bring for clients. I know that to be true because most have the chops on one side or the other, right? I call them ops chops, or they have the sales slick. But to be able to do both, I know for me, I come from the sales side, right? I'm from working on the manufacturing side. I was one of the first employees of the Neodent brand, part of the Straumann group. And I did not come up through operations. 3-4 years ago, I couldn't even book an appointment into any of the practice management systems. Now I can with most of them, right? I've learned, I can be taught. So tell me a little bit about what that journey has been like for you as you work with clients all over the country, as you shared, right? Not just the lower 48, but all 50. Do you have a client in Alaska? Have to ask. You do? Okay, so in all 50 states. And so having clients like that, those that don't necessarily understand both, and how does it work for you to use both sides of your brain when engaging with clients as they have these challenges in revenue cycle management?
I think the advantage there for me is that I'm a user also of these platforms, right? My whole team, we're intricately involved in the day to day of getting their claims out the door, payment posting, researching claims and so forth. So we are users of this software as well. We use lots of different software systems in the course of our day. So, I'm an advisor to multiple software platforms in terms of giving them just subject matter expertise. So it's like I get to wear both hats. We're using the systems as well as being able to promote or not promote, depending on how feasible it is for the practice. I think the other advantage there is that I really get to know my clients, so I know what their needs are. We have lots of in-depth conversations so that I'm able to make the best recommendations based on their needs versus just kind of a blanket, oh, I recommend this software because software A may not be good for client A, but maybe software B is, right? So I like to really customize those solutions and give them what's going to work best for them. Um, and I'm a customer too. I am a consumer of these software systems, some of them. So I really try to make sure it's going to work and they don't have a bunch of overlap. That's starting to be common as the overlap of software. I really just want to make sure they're the most efficient as possible and they're getting the best out of whatever they're paying for.
Yeah, the tech exhaustion is real, and I know in our lane in full arch and implants, it's such a challenge, and yet there's gaps. For
Yeah.
us, it's that end-to-end solution, and you're talking about that end-to-end solution for clients that's customizable, right? So what's the best solution for you, Doctor A, practice A, group A, as you're building and scaling and growing, and really asking the deep questions of where do you wanna be a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? What is your plan and strategy? Is it merger and acquisition? Is it de novo? Is it like, because there's so many different paths, and understanding that and being a true partner rather than just a vendor to individual groups practices, and that's how you've been successful building and growing your business. I love to hear that because it's a different approach to the marketplace, and those of us who have that understanding can be much more valuable as partners. And I know for myself, same. There's different, there's a CRM practice management system that's integrated that looks at things differently. They're early stages, and to be able to offer up expertise in that area, it's like, oh, okay, I certainly can. Let me ask you this question because it's something that I'm finding for myself is there's so many opportunities out there, right? I don't know about you, but if I get less than 20 spam emails about, hey, AI for your front desk, AI for this, AI for that, right? And they're white labeling 99% of it, right? So it's not so much about like I used to talk about 20 years ago, when I first got sober, it was like we don't need to know how to find information, we need to know how to filter information. So talk to me and my listening audience, how are you filtering information to really start to dig through some of these to say, this might have legs. This is where I could spend time and attention in the early stages of those first one or two engagements from a new opportunity, especially if they're early stages.
Early stages is tough, let me tell you, because everything.
I know I'm asking for me, but my listening audience is here. So they want to hear too.
I think for me, I'm just very hands-on. I just wanna get into the weeds of it. So I typically go through the demos. I ask a lot of questions. I know the questions to ask. I'm not new to this, right? So, I cut through the fluff, right? I know they wanna go into their sales pitch and, their generic kind of demo, but, you know, most times I try to let them know in advance, "Listen, I got very serious questions. Don't give me the fluff. I know the ins and outs of these things, and you're not going to be able to kind of gloss over certain things. Um, from there, I do typically want to get a demo version of the system so that I'm able to dig through it directly. Um, Oftentimes, I come across the software because a client has already implemented with it. So that's even better because now I get to see, real life use. So I really do try to make sure that if and when I'm going to do a recommendation, I know the ins and outs. Another key point I think that you made that I wanted to highlight is the integration piece. That's really really important. Just because there's software out there and they say they integrate with your PMS doesn't mean it does a good job of it. Typically, that might be a challenge on the PMS side. Some of them have kind of built moats around their software where they have limitations on who can access their data. So it's really important that you're getting kind of a seamless integration and that you're not just this like clunky interface that's not really useful for the team. And ultimately, you don't get a good end result. So yeah, I just like to dig straight in. I want to be in there and see how it works. And that's typically how I become an advisor for software systems. I'm pointing out the deficiencies and they're like, hey, you want to come and help us build this to make it even better. I also, lastly want to say on that note, it's important that once you adopt any type of technology, you keep up with any new offerings that they have, right? Once a software that launches today looks very different 6 months from now. And sometimes they don't do a great job of letting us know when they release features and things like that. And I really just want to make sure that, like, we're not having a bunch of overlap where we have three different platforms doing the same exact thing, because that again is something that's going to be costly ultimately in the end. We want to make sure that we have the right software doing the right things the best way.
Well, it reminds me of like the Rocket Mortgage commercials where, we'll take a look at your bills and seeing if you're paying for Netflix 3 different times on your bills and we'll actually cancel them for you, right? And it's the same with tech. It's like you do realize that you could do the same thing with all three of these subscriptions that you're paying on a monthly basis. And that's looking at the P&L, which we do with clients. That's a whole nother story for another day. But something that right? There's something you said that really struck a chord with me, and this is this concept of, well, do you have an open platform? Right? We hear this all the time. It was overused and abused over the last decade, and everybody talks about having an open platform. And, I'm a visual person. You know me well enough, right? And I liken it to it's like, yeah, we have an open platform. Okay. But if you have a little peephole that we can look through, it's not the same as opening the door for people to walk through, but it's still open. But that doesn't mean that like the features and it seamlessly integrates and it's helpful because we at G&A Consult, we get asked all the time, especially in my strategy meetings, whether they're weekly, biweekly, or monthly, depending on the level of engagement we have with our full arch clients. When we're coaching and consulting them, they'll ask us, well, what's the best practice management system? Well, let's go back to that original question. Where are you today? What are you planning on doing? Are you doing the merger and acquisition? What are you trying to accomplish? If you're setting yourself up for sale, what's I mean, you got to ask all of these questions. And I'll be honest, 4 years ago when I started this business, I didn't know even to ask these questions. I didn't even know these questions were something to ask. And so I'm just learning as I go along. And because I've become a student of the game, and it sounds like you have as well. And I want to bring something up because, I learned something new about you and your business fairly recently. And it has to do with this concept that I've carried for a very long time. I've been in dental 18 years now, not quite as long as you, but I'm catching up to you. So just pause your years and I'll catch up. It's this concept of collaborating and not having competition. And when long time ago when I got into the implant game, especially at dental conferences of like the 2000s and the early 2010s, so often reps, especially implants, managers at these conferences, you'd have your booth and all the doctors would come during breaks and then they'd go to their CE and then like the personnel would just go and like fart off somewhere. And I'm like, well, like, why don't you look at like your clients, your doctors, your practices? What do they need? Do they need like a marketing company? Do they need somebody to fix a light bulb? Do they need like a recruiter? What are their needs? Like, what do they need a practice management system? Are they looking for a solution for, call set? Like, what do they need? And then go and talk to other vendors, like, and the ones who are actually like normal and service minded and like minded, like, make the connection. Oh, well, that doesn't really help me. Yes, it does. It creates this community. And you have this collaboration mindset. And I know this because we have similar circles that we run in. And I learned recently that so for your revenue cycle management, you work in the Dentrix lane, but not in other practice management lanes. And so that's the piece of collaboration because for me, I've built this business on industry partners and collaboration and connection. And I think it's so critically important. So, talk to me a little bit about how you've been able to build and grow your business being very niche, because that's what mine is, very niche, full arch. Coaching and consulting, how to convert leads over, how to do better with closing those cases with what you have. And I went very niche and it was scary, right, to do that, but it's really worked out well. So, talk to me about that, about niche and collaboration and connection.
Great topic. I love this topic so much. So first off, about 50% of our leads come from actual clients, people who we service every day. And the other 50% is split between consultants, Dentrix trainers, uh, other software vendors who maybe are ancillary to Dentrix, other service providers for various other types of services that are provided to dentists and dental offices. I do zero marketing. 0. And I like it better that way, right? Because it gives you, a warm intro, and the person knows a lot about you. Sometimes you get told a lot about the person or the practice in advance, and kind of starts the relationship before it really starts. So I love that part. My most recent favorite thing is, I am a founding member of the Dental Revenue Network. So shout out to DRN. And it's interesting you talk about like the competition versus the collaboration. It's a group, I don't know, 30 or so. Don't quote me, Teresa, if you're listening. Teresa Duncan started it. And it's about 30 or so of us dental billing company owners, and we all come from an abundance mindset. We get together once a month. We're doing lots of collaborating, lots of cross referrals. Every lead I can't accept because of some limitation. Typically, it's because I'm Dentrix only, so I'm able to cross refer to other members, and we share a lot of information. It's a lot out here trying to battle these insurance companies. One company can't do it alone. We need that collaboration to just simply share information and keep each other abreast of what's happening out here. So that's been one way. As you know, with you and backstage and the rest of that crew, there's just so much energy that's going there with being able to again share information and cross refer. This is instrumental. You can't be out there on an island and serve the client well. Right. You're not going to be able to give them the best of what they need if you're on an island. So you definitely have to build those relationships, stay abreast of what's happening in the industry, and make sure you're able to just really provide that high quality service. And it takes a lot of energy, right? I mean, it's more like a time investment versus a financial investment. But I think, again, the end result is you get to grow, you get to serve your clients well, and I get to keep fighting the good fight with the insurance companies that way. So I really love this kind of new method of interaction I'm seeing in dentistry. I hope it continues. We're better together than as one. And that's kind of the philosophy that I take.
Well, and it gives you an opportunity to exponentially learn things that are coming in, or when one person learns, they get to share it. Like with your group of 30, you mentioned with Teresa, right? The DRN, one person learns something new and it could be shared amongst the 30. So you literally have 30 people, and it's not just additive, it's exponential. And I love that. That's so critically important. And what it does, it enables, I know myself, just like you, it enables us to have, I'm going to use the B word, balance, right? And it
Yeah.
enables us to spend some time doing the things that we are passionate about outside of our business, right? Because business is important, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm passionate about the business and what I do of helping clinicians and practices to be able to provide these life-changing procedures and delivering brand new smiles for patients. But for me, my passion with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Central Arizona, and also with, in my sober community. But for you, you also are very passionate about some of the work that you do in the nonprofit sector, whether that is, being on the board for People for Change Coalition, or being a board member for Special Care for Special Needs. So talk to me a little bit about the work you're able to do there, because you have spent time being collaborative, making connections instead of having to grind everything out, and being of that abundance mindset, which I love. That's something that I certainly have been adopting. I won't say I have adopted, because I still fall back into old mindset patterns. I think most do, but at least I know I do, being a little vulnerable. So talk to me a little bit about the work that you're doing outside of, right, with the nonprofits.
Right. Thank you for asking. So, interestingly enough, on Friday, I chair the board for People for Change Coalition, and we hosted a minority business enterprise breakfast with our senator for our state, Senator Van Hollen. And initially, it was just come and support the organization, but lo and behold, they set up a mic and invited the audience to ask questions. Right. Well, I'm part of the audience. I'll send that clip to you in just a few once we get off of this podcast.
Please do. Yes.
Oh my. And it was very impromptu, right? I didn't even know that was gonna happen, but I just jumped up and was like, "So, what are we doing about healthcare in our country?" Right? Like, I was just able to ask the really tough questions. One of the things I brought up was like, "Hey, at what point do we decide that we're not relying on the federal government? At what point do we come together as a local government community, state and county governments, and even potentially even some municipalities, right? When do we come together and say we still have to take care of our citizens, right? Because if we don't have their health, we have nothing. So that was fun on Friday. And then, so I do that organization. We work to help grow and scale local small businesses, but mostly nonprofits. Nonprofits is where a lot of the work gets done. They're serving the underserved community, the marginalized communities, and the forgotten. So I love doing that work there. And then with special care for special needs, that organization is actually founded by a dear client of mine. We're 25 years in business together. She was one of my first billing clients. She's still standing strong with me. I love her for that. We're good friends now. And about 15 years ago, she decided she wanted to serve the special needs community. And so I serve as treasurer on that board. We host community events where we offer free dentistry, again, for the underinsured and uninsured. And it just gives me a lot more of a peek in the window of what my customers are dealing with. Because if I'm an advocate for small business, right? My dentists are small businesses. I don't deal very much in the DSO space, so I'm dealing with 1, 2 location, small to mid-sized practices. So I really like to get into the heart of what's happening in the community, not just the dental community, but the small business community. There's lots of resources out there that dentistry is unaware of, right? Because we kind of operate in this bubble. And I like to break out the bubble and see what else is going on. It may be grants, just programs that we're able to assist clients with. So I really love that work. And I think it keeps me well balanced and just a little step above the rest. So I'm, again, kind of breaking out of that bubble. The special needs community is very special to me. I am a special needs guardian. My auntie passed away a couple of years ago and blessed me with the opportunity to be guardian to my cousin, who's a 36-year-old nonverbal autistic woman. And so now I started this work before all of that, right? But isn't it interesting how things come full circle? And now I am a caretaker for this community. So I was doing the work before, but now it's really like redlined and underlined how important this work is to make sure that that marginalized community gets the oral health care that they need as well. So it's been a lot of fun during this journey.
I find that beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I've used the phrase often that coincidence is God's way of staying anonymous. So I find that so beautiful and ironic, not in the Alanis Morissette way, but just so ironic that that has been brought into your realm. For myself, in the special needs community, about 20 years ago. I was part of a faith community, and a few years after I started in that faith community, somebody came into my life, a family, and he was differently abled and such a huge hockey fan. And his cousin is the equipment manager for the San Jose Sharks, and they made the playoffs. This was 15, 16 years ago. And I was traveling at the time for work, like that I do even now. And I made a comment to him, hey, do you want to go to the Sharks playoff game up in San Jose? I said, I can, use my points. At the time I was flying Southwest Airlines, I can use my points and I've got, the points for the hotel. You get tickets and we can go. And his dad called me right away and said, are you serious? Because I didn't even know him that well then, just through, the church at the time. And I said, yeah, I'm serious. And that started a journey. So every single year, save for the 2 COVID years, we have gone to a different hockey arena around the country. And so anybody who knows me on my social media knows Matt, and Matt and I go to a different arena. And he's struggling with some medical concerns now, but I mean, he's a trooper. He really is. And we have had he teaches me so much just about life and to slow down and how to communicate and how to be grateful for everything, including his friendship. And so I'm just when I see stuff like that, when people are starting to share of their heart and slow down and have the opportunity because of connection and collaboration to spend more time on their passion outside of dental or supporting dental in their community, right? And breaking out of, you call it a bubble, I call it a silo. I honor that in you, Devon. Thank you so much for sharing that and being open to sharing that.
Thank you for sharing all.
Devon, this is the part of the program all of my guests play a little something called What the Sleuth is Going On? It's 3 rapid fire questions. First thing that comes to mind. Are you ready to play?
I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. Question number 1. What's the worst bad breath you've ever encountered?
On someone else. Probably it will be a patient, right? Like, patient presenting with, like, severe perio and missing teeth, broken teeth, so we have decay, we have an infection and so forth, multiples of those over the years. That is a very distinctive smell. Oh, way worse than garlic.
Yes. Thank you to the dental community for teaching me the smell of perio disease because I can smell it like 10 rows away on a plane now. Thank you for the dental community. Appreciate that. Question number two. If you could change one thing about your smile, what would it be?
So I have little baby teeth. See? I'm a Bruxer. I'm a Bruxer, and my teeth are super short. My honey calls them my corn on the cob teeth. So I kind of just wish they were longer and not so short. But overall, I like my smile. I think your smile comes from within for the most part. So, but yeah,
It
that was the
really
one.
does. That's true. You have a beautiful smile. And for all of those who are just listening on audio, YouTube mark at about 20 to 23 minutes, you can see her go, see, and she does like the little kid cheese into the camera. It's a beautiful thing. So, hey, you do have a beautiful smile inside. I know. Yes, of course. Question number three, last and final. If you could go back and be the inventor of any dental product, and no, you can't choose your own, which one would you choose and why?
An existing product, and I was the inventor, or something that's not on the market.
Yep.
Which one?
Existing.
Existing.
Mhm.
I would say I don't want to pick a system, but I would say a practice management software. And I would just build it right from the beginning and keep it up to date and keep it sharp from the beginning. That would be my dream. My dream would be like to own practice management software right now, and it just was serving the way it's supposed to serve instead of having deficiencies here and okay over here, and you got to add something else from over this part that's missing. I would love to just be a part of, if I could, from the beginning of like really pioneering that super mega amazing practice management software.
I mean, it's not too late. Second career.
I know.
Like,
I have too much going on right now.
she's like, yeah,
The God ears, right? On my eighth day, we'll see if I can knock that out.
on the eighth day, on the eighth day, on the eighth
Yeah,
day.
we'll
Love it.
see.
Well, Devon, you've been such a treat. Is there anything in the last few minutes that I haven't asked you or that you'd like to be able to share with my listening audience? I want to open it up and give you an opportunity here.
I do. Give me just 1 or 2 minutes, and I'm gonna knock this out.
Good.
Super important. It's been coming to me a lot more lately. But the thing I think that all offices, or even consultants working with offices, need to do to stay ahead of the curve here. Um, you hear a lot about automation, AI, right? Outsourcing. And those are all wonderful things. But I think we need to get back to the basics, and in all that we do in whatever business it is, right? But we're talking to the dental community. In all that we do, make sure you have a process for it. Make sure you have a documented process for all of the different things you're doing, whether it be administrative, whether it be clinical, right? Know that you're doing something the same, and that you have brought in all of the key players who contribute to that process for, input feedback, right? Get your processes down really well. It's going to help you grow and thrive. Then once you do that, two things: infuse automation and AI into the areas that you can within the process once it's established. So get the process first, and then infuse automation and AI into it, and then reevaluate your processes over time. They should not be stuck, year after year. Things are changing, the industry's changing, software's changing, things are being introduced into the market. So continue to reevaluate your systems and don't get stuck in a gear, and you're missing out on all of the great things that are out there.
These are some very sage words coming out of you for sure to close out the program. And for sure, we talk about systems and processes all the time. I talk to my team because I'm a visual guy. So I always talk about wash, rinse, repeat. It's very boring to have processes in place, but it also means you're not person dependent with institutional knowledge, you're process dependent. Yeah, visit them. It's beautiful. Thank you so much, DeVon Banks, for being my guest on the Tooth Sleuth Podcast. I have loved speaking with you. All of the knowledge, all of the things. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
If you need help with converting lead calls into consultations, closing consults into more full arch cases, or creating a more strategic marketing message and branding for your practice or group, follow me for more tips or reach out to G&A Consult for a discovery call today.